We're live. Christine, you gonna...
Oh, sure. Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Last City, a fantasy craft actual play. I'm your host, Christine Blight, and today I'm joined with Adrian. You want to introduce
Hi, my
yourself?
name's Adrian. Yeah. Find me on Twitter at Hadrian.
Great. Sasha?
Hi, I'm Sasha. You can find me on Twitter at Sasha_Reno, and you can follow all my game dev stuff at tcabbage.
And Cassandra?
Hi everybody, I'm Cassandra. My pronouns are she and her. You can find me on Twitter at acastdarkly. And today I'll be playing Yingrel Starcrusher, a giant courtier. Courtier, however you say that.
It's however you say it, and we all rush to follow your example. And Austin.
Hi, I'm Austin. My pronouns are he, him. You can find me on Twitter at notanin. And I will be your GM for this evening.
And I'm Christine. I'm sometimes on Twitter at notanin, piping in on the occasional. And I'm playing Dorothy, the unborn sorceress. And Midnight is playing my familiar, the rat. I can't remember the name right now. Oh, no. Foxglove, thank you.
All right. So, shall we get into it then?
Let's.
Okay.
I attack.
What is this, D&D? Yes, so, opening night of your opera has been a grand success. And so, of course, there must be an after party after this rousing victory. What better place to have it than at the Storm Giant townhouse within Enclave? This is the home away from home, become just home for the Giant Delegation that Ingrel is a member of. And this delegation were also the ones who produced and put on the opera. So it has been probably an hour or two since the end of the opera. And drinks have been flowing, and food has been eaten and is being eaten. And so I'm going to take us over to the play screen where can y'all see the townhouse?
I can.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you might want to zoom in on the dining room, because this townhouse is very large, as it is scaled to the Giant Delegation. So if you are not a giant, using this space is frankly uncomfortable, because it is just straight up not made for you. It's probably a bit easier for the two root walkers, as you are of the same scale, if slightly shorter.
Yeah, there's a dragon just sitting at this table, no problem.
Yes. So there are a number of people at this table, and I will go over them. At the head of the table is Istal Boulder Ripper, who is the leader of the storm of the Giant Delegation, and like Ingrel is a storm giant. To their right is the human known as Commander Jesse Lutenia, who is the head of the Coast Guard.
Oh, and their little feet are dangling.
Yeah, I think that the aside from Dorothy, as Dorothy is well, we'll get to Dorothy's situation at this table.
Boost.
But yes, the human, the elf, the Kadam, and the Saurian who are at this table are all in essentially,
Monster seats.
yeah, basically, like compared to the giants, they are about the same size as a child is to an adult, just due to the different scale. So no one's, commenting on the necessity for this, but you can all tell that they're all feeling a little awkward about it, and a little disrespected isn't quite the right word, but it's a whole thing. They're not happy about it, but recognize the practical necessities. So yes, another note about Commander Lutenia is that they actually have a sword at their hip because they are a member of the Coast Guard. Which brings me to a question. Where are all y'all's weapons? Because it is not legal to carry weaponry in Enclave, because it is a bit of a police state.
Do shields count as weapons to the police?
I
Why would you need to carry a shield?
yeah, that's kind of their motives, their thought. Like, knives are okay because that's like got an excuse. If you're a woodcutter and you've got an axe, I mean, you're probably not in the city with the axe. But I believe that 3 of you have spears is your like traditional weapon. So where are your spears? They could be, for Ingril, you might have them upstairs in one of the bedrooms, since I am guessing you live here, but if that's not the case, that's fine as well.
Yeah, I was thinking that because it was like a gift from like a Saurian delegation, so it's just like up in the room.
Yes. There's also storage downstairs, which is where I suspect the rest of y'all might have your weapons kept amongst the servants' quarters. But if anyone has, like...
Already there, putting them away.
Sorry, what was that, Hadrian?
Said I'm already there, putting them away.
Okay, so yes, your weapons... Well, at this point, everyone's at the dining table. But... So your stuff is in the servants' quarters. And V, where have you put yours?
I think that I may have left mine at the Opera House in the props room, because I did use it on stage, and it was kind of a key point, so.
Fair. Yeah. To the right of Commander Lutenia is Dean Gruss Sasai, and she is a Saurian and the head of the university. To her right is Professor Rory Aom, a Kadam, and she is a scholar of the humanities, specifically theater. And this whole evening, she has just been, like, wowed by the performance and is just loving it, because she has read about the operas put on by giants, but has never actually seen one performed. So this was a great experience for her. To the left of Istal Boulder Ripper is elder sibling Dynastisel, who is an elf and one of the upper council of the Dirt Folk Guild. The Dirt Folk Guild is not so much, they don't have a whole lot of power inside of Enclave, because they are the fairly recent union of miners. The reason they've been able to form a union is because after 9 years, coal is getting expensive. And it is the middle of winter right now.
Must suck to feel temperatures.
Yeah. It is there is in fact like a brazier on the table in front of Dean Sasai. So she is definitely feeling a bit chilly and is not quite huddled around that brazier. To the direct left of elder sibling Dynastisal is Lord Omba Broadwing, the Drake. And he is very unhappy because, you see, Dynastisal and the Dirtfolk Guild are a big pain in the ass for Lord Broadwing and the rest of the landlords, because he and the landlords are the primary landholders outside of Enclave. And they're not a big fan of this peasant uprising as they view the guild, but the Coast Guard have yet to step into this matter. And Enclave doesn't really, like, have the equivalent of Pinkertons, because there's just not enough militarily trained people outside of the Coast Guard. There's the ruffians and the enforcers of the Hidden Hand, but they do their own thing. A notable absence from this table is Pullum. And Pullum Stormbringer is another member of the Giant Delegation and was supposed to be in the opera, but he's a bit of a known hedonist and did not show up for rehearsal or opening night today. So which of you was his understudy?
I think it was probably Viper, who was actually like his combat coach that had to step in
Yeah.
and do the actual acting.
Yeah.
Seems likely.
Yeah, that seems fair. Christine, could
What
you...
a good job you did.
Yes. Christine, could you drag Dorothy's token onto...
Oh, sure.
Yes. Onto
Sorry,
the...
how do I do that again?
You just go to where your character sheet is, and then you
okay.
click
I
and
have it.
drag. Or not, you don't need to open your character sheet, just like the tab, and then you just click and drag your character's name onto the screen. So yeah, I think Dorothy, I think you're just straight up on the table.
Okay.
Because like even the like booster seats that the human, the elf, the Saurian, and the Kadam are sitting in are still like not large enough to make a difference for you to be at the table, since you are 3 feet tall.
Can I sit on the shoulder of one of my companions?
If you would like.
I don't think anyone's gonna stop you.
No, you've got the choice of the room, to be honest.
Are you still glowing red?
Yeah, I still have one taint.
Only slightly.
I'm just a little bit of taint.
Yeah. So that is the situation. I think yeah. Oh, another note is that just on the screen below the dining area where the parlor is, there is a massive crate sitting in the middle of the parlor, which was here when you all arrived. And the servants explained that it was a gift from one Lord Salazar, who is a Saurian renowned for his love of the arts, and is a much pursued patron by artists and musicians and actors. And so apparently shortly after the end of the performance, this has all been relayed to everyone here, that a courier delivered this package, and it has a note on it. But Istal has said to leave opening gifts for after dinner, as everyone is needing to talk about the play. And so does anyone have any particular conversations that they sought out or chose to engage with over dinner?
Does Dorothy eat?
No.
Okay, let's
Yes, it's a very awkward situation for me.
I think I will attempt to engage in some conversation with Amba Broadwing.
Okay. What are you talking with him about?
Just kind of like asking what he thought of the opera, and if what his people do for entertainment and things like that.
Well, he explains, well, us lords are rather fond of the hunt. Myself, I prefer to do my hunting on the wing, but some of my companions who are, shall we say, aerodynamically challenged, they are fond of horseback, or some of them prefer raptors, although I find that a little odd when in my presence. But
that does seem rather rude.
Yes. And I think at that point, Dean Sasai is like, well, it's not that odd. My people have been riding them for centuries. I'm so grateful that we were able to bring some to that they did not die out with the rest of the world.
Now, these are troubled times we find ourselves in.
Yes, indeed.
Is the... Oh, sorry. You go. Was someone saying something?
I was coughing, sorry.
Sorry. Who is the person that is kind of cranky right now?
That would be Lord Omba Broadwing, although elder sibling Dynastilsil is also not like super pleased, but they're let's see. Dynastisel is kind of rubbing it in that they are even here because they know that Broadwing is unhappy about their presence, about any representation from the Dirt Folk Guild.
I'm going to use my skill Charming to improve the disposition of one non-adversary NPC by 5. So you're going to have to start taking deposition charts into effect.
I will keep that in mind. So whom are you using that upon?
To Lord Omba Broadwing.
Okay, and how do you enact this?
Hi, I'm Dorothy. Would you like to examine me?
So do you like? You're saying just that from Ingril's shoulder?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The hell of an introduction line.
She's several centuries years old. She cuts the chase.
It stopped being awkward 250 years ago.
Yeah. I've done some things.
Okay. Yeah, I think Broadwing sees you and is like, "Oh, my apologies, dear. I thought you were I'm not a mannequin or puppet of Lady Starcrushers. I did not realize that you were a vessel."
Yes. Well, Lady Starcrusher would only have the finest of puppets, so I'll take that as a compliment.
Yes, your vessel is very fine indeed. Did you construct it yourself?
I'm afraid I didn't.
Is
But
the
I've made several improvements over the years.
indeed. Such as?
A girl has to have some secrets, sir.
Indeed. Yes. I think
Madam V takes a long drink of wine.
the professor looks at you, V, and just like rolls her eyes at like the two of them. And just like, Madam V, I must congratulate you. Your duets during the performance were magnificent.
Oh, bless your heart, darling. Thank you so much.
Who was your teacher? I can't imagine that there are. Did you have two of them, or how did that work?
Well, you see, it's all very technical, and then she goes into a very technical spiel about singing, which I do not have, but she certainly does. But this is like, yeah. She does that.
Oh, fascinating. You see, I am, in spite of being well studied in the theater myself, I'm more interested in the theming and the tales being told within it, the practicalities, so to speak, the finer points of it. I'm a bit lost in those, so thank you for elaborating.
Well, it's fascinating just how much of those story points are wrapped up in the craft of it. You see, there are things that you can do on the stage that you simply can't do anywhere else. The story doesn't communicate quite as sharply, quite as beautifully as it does in the opera.
Ah, yes. And Commander Lieutenant interrupts and says, "Now those props you were using, those are under lock and key, correct?"
Oh, quite so.
Ah, very good. Just want to make sure.
I think you will find we have filed all the important forms for the opera during its run. What's this guy's rank?
This is Commander, the very
Commander.
head of the Coast Guard.
Yeah.
Yes. So they nod along at you saying, yes, my vice commander looked over the paperwork personally. I had some concerns once I heard that there was going to be live combat involved in the performance. However, things seem to have went well. That rock flying out into the audience was concerning.
Accidents will happen. I suppose we'll never know where that came from.
Broadwing comes in with, "Oh, don't worry, it would just hit the lower seating. It's just full of commoners down there. There are plenty of those where if something untoward were to happen."
I should hope that nothing would befall the people of Enclave. Lord Broadway.
Dynastisel just like turns so slowly and is just glaring daggers at
When he
Broadwing.
says commoners, the stem of Viper's goblet breaks in her hand.
Oh dear.
I think you'll find, good sir, that those commoners account for 80% of our ticket sales. So it is in fact quite important that they return happy.
Yes, but you must know that with all of the people outside of the walls of Enclave in those lean-tos and huts and tents and whatnot, there's more where that came from.
Is it culturally insensitive to mention hoards around drakes? Like a hoard of coins?
I think that if you
Culturally insensitive to confuse them with dragons, maybe.
I think that if you were to imply that drakes are all hoarders and or kleptomaniacs of some variety, it's yes, they at least this one certainly has a collection of wealth.
Yeah, this one's the 1%.
Yes, 100%. Broadwing is the Jeff Bezos of Enclave. And I that is not made in jest. Broadwing is probably the wealthiest person on this island. And as far as anyone is aware, the wealthiest person alive. So yes, Dynastisel says, there is a preciousness to all life, regardless of their means, Broadwing. And Broadwing just sort of coughs and sort of invades Dynastisel's personal space with one of his wings, and then just says, "Oh, my apology. I just a cough." And Dynastisel is just like, "Yes, I'm sure it just was a cough."
Oh, look, dessert. It's on its way.
Oh, it smells wonderful.
So, Ingra, what is dessert?
Gosh, what do giants even do for dessert? I think I think whatever it is, it's something. I think it's basically a cake. It's basically cakes, but they've been cut ahead of time, so we don't just have this large cake that is taller than one of our guests in the middle of the table.
It was either going to be that or comically tiny cupcakes.
Both good.
But yeah, so I think I think there's some of that, and I think also there's little spiced meat pastries.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right, so the servants bring those in, and the servants are all other giants. That some of them are familiar to you, Ingril, as they are the servants who live here in the lower floor. And there's a couple of giants who have been brought in from the wider population, specifically for this gathering, for a couple more hands to help out. How often are the rest of you visiting this townhouse.
I think Madame V makes a fairly regular occurrence. Isn't there all the time, but drops by for tea and to say hello.
Dorothy tends to be a bit reclusive. She kind of forgets the passage of time sometimes, unless there's like a strict deadline. So she keeps meaning to stop by to say hello and to schmooze, but before she knows it, it's the next performance.
I think Viper is mostly only around when it pertains to the business.
I see.
So, planning meetings, training, etc.
Okay. All right. Let's see. It's there. Yeah. So.
Also, I would like to note that I snag a meat pastry for Foxglove, but he can only have some.
Is Foxglove here?
Yes.
On your shoulder?
Yes. It's a pyramid scheme.
Well, so how big is Foxglove on you?
Well, I'm 3 feet tall, and he is a shy of 1 foot, so about the size of a cat to a regular human.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So Broadwing takes a taste of the cake and then says, "This is absolutely delicious, and I wish I could stay longer." Excuse me. But I really must be going. I have other business to attend to.
When do we roll sense motive checks?
Well, so you don't believe what Broadwing is claiming?
Mostly I just dislike him and have no reason to take anything he says at face value.
All right. So, yeah. If you just wanna guess.
Is this a social check? Does appearance factor into it?
Yes, it does. What is your appearance?
3.
3 is
That's a rude question.
Sure, appearance.
Is that including the bonus from?
Yes, that is with the bonus.
Yes, the bonus. So, in Fantasycraft, each class has a core ability which you only get at first level if it's the very first class that you take, and so the courtier's ability. Cassandra, could you elaborate on that a little bit?
I could. Give me 1 moment. So I have as my core ability, only the finest. Your reputation relies on impressions of you and your teammates. Your appearance bonus and that of each teammate increases by 2.
Yeah, so everyone who is in the party is fancier because of Ingril's glowing personality, and perhaps has...
You're welcome, darlings. You're welcome.
Actually, that's an interesting question. Is it purely by force of will, Ingril, that you impart this gloriousness upon your companions, or have you decked them out and done their makeup and
Repainted.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit of both, because I do think that it's especially on the night of an opera, I was just all right, let's make sure everything's going well, and then but it's also a part of it's just these are my friends, and so therefore they're part of the cool kids.
I
And
just got really stoked at the idea of these 3 gigantic women doing each other's makeup.
Yes.
Good.
get in the wagon, loser.
Pulling out the model making kit with a magnifying glass to Dorothy's.
Aw,
Oh,
that's so good.
So, speaking of everyone's appearances, presumably y'all aren't wearing your costumes from earlier. So, Ingril, why don't we start with you? What are you wearing?
So I think I have switched to like a burgundy gown that I am wearing, and over that I have like a like bearskin cloak.
Ooh.
That is, because it's difficult to like heat the entirety of the townhouse because it's so large. So I think the giants here, we just dress for the winter, right? So I just am bundled up in like this very nicely kept like gray and brown bearskin robe over it, and like I have my blue circlet, which has been adjusted since since the opera when it was skewed on my head from throwing things around. Yeah, and then I am also I think I have a pair of gloves that are resting on the table next to me, like a pair of large leather gloves that are like a dark brown.
Ooh.
Very good. Okay. V, how about you?
Well, I'm certainly out of costume. Have left that gaudy display behind me because I'm not presenting for the stage anymore. It's for the table. I am dressed in sort of a lace affair that is mostly on the upper torso. That is very like sort of handmade for my build, and I am wearing a sort of a hoop skirt, and over the hoop skirt are cuttings of or grafts rather of other plants that I've attached and that I'm sort of fostering, and there are some small like not the flowers themselves are small, but there are a lot of them that are like very light blues and yellows that go around the skirt.
So, a question for you. Are you deciduous?
I don't think so. I don't think so. No, I don't. I think the plants that I'm growing have leaves on them, but I like my branches are bare for the winter.
I see. Okay. And you won't have like leaves or flowers come spring?
I mean, I might.
Okay.
It depends on my mood, I guess.
All right. A similar question for Viper. How do the seasons affect your appearance?
Viper stays pretty much the same year round because she doesn't actually have any leaves. She just has the bark-like skin and amber eyes, but she actually does just have hair on top of her head.
All right. And what is Viper wearing?
Are you familiar with like an Andalusian riding suit?
No.
Sort of a traditional like Spanish horseman get up.
Could you describe it to us?
It's like a
Oh, this is good luck.
Yeah, it's like a tailored cropped dress jacket with some ornate piping and sort of floral embroidery down the lapels, and sort of tight-fitting white dress shirt up under it with frilly cuffs, and some smartly tailored pants and high boots.
And just an incredible hat.
It's the best hat.
Excellent. All right. And before we get to Dorothy's description, on the topic of seasons and temperature, which I bring up because Dorothy is unaffected by either of those. So normally, Ingril, usually the stoves inside of the townhouse, you can see that there's one near the dining room, sort of between that and the parlor. usually those have a manure in them for burning.
Oh, okay.
Because it's cheap, but thanks to you know that thanks to the connection and probably a small but not unimportant reason that elder sibling Dynastisel has been invited is that tonight the townhouse has coal. So yes, that is part of the reason that Dynastisel is here, is because they have a solid grip on, or hand at least, in who gets coal. And let me tell you, Broadwing is paying through the nose for it.
Ooh.
But he can also afford it.
Trickle-down economics. It works. This is a fantasy world.
So, yes, and Dorothy.
Yes. Dorothy is wearing a pastel purple chiton with long flowing sleeves. It's translucent, but it's okay because it's all just a doll down there, so we're good. And since it hits the floor, they're not wearing any shoes.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, Viper, you wanted to try and sense motive upon Lord Broadwing. So what does that look like? Hadrian, you're muted.
Yeah, it said, "Hey, you're muted," big on the screen right there. Probably a pointed look and an aggressive chomp on a meat pie.
Okay.
So is there an appearance bonus?
No, you in fact do not get your appearance bonus because
This
Broadwing.
dragon is hot.
He's a very fancy rich dragon.
Yes, he is. He in fact does have like a golden not brooch, pendant and chain around his large neck and has a couple of gold rings in piercings through his wings rather. So yes.
I don't trust him.
Yeah.
He's a little too eager to get out of here.
So you get a 22. And I'm not telling you what Broadwing got. But you're pretty sure that he's being honest. He does have business elsewhere. He's also like he likes y'all, especially after Dorothy's delightful introduction. But he's like a bit put off that Dynastisel is here. Even Professor Eowym's presence, like he understands the dean being here and the commander and the people who were in the performance, but Dynastisel, and Eowym, like, is essentially a servant as far as he is concerned. It doesn't matter that she is tenure.
You work for your pay.
Yeah. So he is partially leaving because, before everyone gets into dessert talk, now is as good a time as any to leave. And so he's heading out between things that he'd rather be doing and people he'd rather be around.
Can you set me on the table first?
Oh, yes, of course, dear. Absolutely. And so he picks you up, and then he, like, leans in a little bit and says, "My God, you have a rat on you!"
Yes, this is Foxglove. It's my familiar.
A familiar? As a rat? As a familiar?
Well, you understand that we don't choose them, right?
What?
Of course you know.
Yes, absolutely, my dear. Why, I have known a mage or two in my time, and I just had not encountered such a fine rodent before. And he puts you down gently on the table, and then with a single finger, like, gently pats Foxglove's head. And of course, his finger is like the size of Foxglove.
Yeah. Also want to make sure to specify with the bonuses to that we get from Courier. This is a fucking hot rat, so
You might even say it's a fancy rat.
no.
No.
It's
Fancy
a
rat.
Dumbo, actually. So we're not doing that.
For those who don't know, fancy rat is a breed of rat. Okay, yeah. All right, moving on. So, Broadwing.
Rat baseball talk.
Lord Broadwing, I would be happy to escort you out.
Thank you. And good evening to every one of you. And so he gives a very slight bow of the shoulders to everyone except for Dynastisel, who he sort of just gestures vaguely at with his wing. And Dynastisel takes it in stride. They are used to this kind of horse shit. So you're walking to the door with let's just get Dorothy on that table. And
Not demeaning at all.
so, is there anything that you wish to say to Broadwing as you're seeing him out?
Yeah, so what's our relationship as the Giants with the landlords right now?
Well, I mean, Istal wants to try and branch out and, make friends with everyone. That is why there is representatives here from all of the major groups. You know that they even tried to get someone from the Hidden Hand to come tonight? But as far as you're aware, they didn't have much luck on that front.
Sure. Then I will say, Lord Broadwing, perhaps sometime soon, within the next week or so, we could have a discussion as to how to clear up some of these lean-tos and whatnot. I say very diplomatically, my intention is to be I want to arrange a meeting to try and see about getting some funding or something to maybe spruce the place up a bit. But I just kind of segue in with those lean-tos you mentioned. It's perhaps we could see about making a nicer, more permanent solution for the health and appearance of the city.
Give me your impress roll.
Sure. All right, so that is a 12.
Does the courtier have a first? Because your roll was a 4.
Yeah. So, shaping thoughts or feeling at level 1, each time you fail a haggle or impress check and don't suffer an error, you still succeed as long as the check DC or your opponent's check result is equal to or less than your class level plus 20. So if the difficulty class is less than 21, then I succeed. If several grades of success are possible, I achieve only the lowest positive result.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so he like nods with his large head and his long neck, and he says, "Yes, that would be quite enjoyable. I think that we could find something to do with all of those people. I'm sure there's some work that they can be put to, perhaps expand the farmland, with their aid, and get some housing for them."
Well, thank you. I appreciate your consideration of the matter. And then I open the door and say, "Stay warm."
Absolutely. And he says in a quieter voice, "So long as that damn elf doesn't starve me of my coal, of course." And
I wouldn't suspect such ill intention.
yes, can you imagine one of us having to fill our stoves with manure? How degrading.
Indeed. Well, have a pleasant evening.
And you as well, my dear. And so he goes out into the night, and with a flap of his massive wings and a swirl of snow from the front step, disappears upward.
I see. Yeah, I think we just see like Ingril's mouth like twitch slightly, and then she turns back.
Very good. Yeah. So as you come back to the table, Dynastisel, none too quietly, says, "Oh, thank God that asshole is gone." And
Finally, we can have some civilized conversation.
the dean just like spits out the drink that she was drinking, just like does a full spit take. Professor Aowen like covers her mouth with her furry hand to hide a smile. The commander just like frowns, but doesn't say anything to that. And Istal says, "Now, Dynastisel, there are many walks of life, and some of us have had more isolated experiences. We are all that's left, except for the sparked beyond the blockades enforced by our good commander here." And there's a slight nod to Lutenia.
Oh yes, how are those holding up, dear commander?
Well, they go well. It helps having the only dry docks in Enclave. But and yet there are still people trying to run the blockade on rafts and whatever ship they can get together. It's astounding what people are willing to try and brave. They are safe here, and yet they seek to try and go out into the storm-tossed lands beyond, and they have to brave the seas first. Where would they even get the provisions for such a journey? It boggles the mind.
After a long enough time, even the nicest of palaces can seem like a cage.
Yes, well, at least outside of this cage, or at least within the cage, rather, Lutenia's a little bit in their cups. There are no sparked in here. Although, they look like they're about to say something more, and then they clam up. And the dean says, "Yes, there are no sparked in here. I wish that I could study one, but of course it would be madness to do such a thing."
Well, if anyone has the facilities to do so, it is the university.
Yes, but we would not dare. We, that would be a very concerning proposal, and I assure you that were any of my professors to bring such an idea to me, the ethics board would have a very strong word with them.
How much are they winking?
None at all. But I mean, if you want to roll sense motive.
I do. My appearance bonus is 4.
Okay. You have a +3 advantage from your appearance.
Okay. Let me just check about my tainted. That doesn't affect wisdom rolls. Where is... Where do you write down the conditions? I wrote it down there.
I'm not sure.
Oh, here we are, in the combat defense. To will saves and charisma-based spell checks is a -2, so I'm good.
Spell checks or skill checks?
Skill checks.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry. There we go. That is an 11 plus 3.
And
14.
who were you rolling sense motive on? The dean, was it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the dean rolled poorly. I'm not afraid to say that. You can tell that almost certainly the university has some kind of experiments going on with the sparked somewhere in the university. But she's not concerned about it. She is certain that whatever experiments are going on, they are very firmly contained.
Well, that's fun to do to humanoid test subjects.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
Well, I'm certainly happy to hear that the ethics board at the university are on top of everything. That just puts my heart at ease.
AOM says, "Yes, we take it very seriously. I'm on the ethics board as well. You see, I am the humanities representative on the board, and let me tell you, there would be nothing to do with the sparked within our walls." So, is there any other conversations anyone wants to bring up during this? Or any roles anyone wants to do? Any observing anyone desires during this dinner party?
I don't think so right now.
No, I think I'm just going to enjoy the food and prattle on, just senselessly.
I don't think Viper gets too engaged, except for trying to trade her cake for more meat pies.
Fair. The Ingrel, is this good food?
It should be. I didn't cook it, but it's probably it's at least it's like good and filling, and it's great for a cold day, I think. So maybe it's not like got the most complicated of flavor profiles, but it's just like good solid food.
Yeah. Very good. Dorothy, how jealous are you?
Well, I do have like a psychic connection with Foxglove, so that we know each other's emotional states, so I can somewhat enjoy the food. I can't like phantomly get the taste of it or anything, but I can like enjoy her enjoyment of it.
Does that make things worse? Because you're like, oh yes, I know this is legitimately very good food, and yet...
Well, no, because I mean, like, it's what I have, so good enough.
Acclimated a bit to it, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. So, the rest of the meal passes with some pleasant, idle small talk. There's more discussion from Eowyn about how wonderful the performances were from all of you, and looking to get as much like information about the meaning of the play or the opera, and trying to I think Eowyn's trying really hard to engage you, Viper, in discussion about like the combat, the theater, the combat theatrics involved. She knows nothing about combat, like zero. Like she understands the purpose of it in this form of performance, but like knows nothing about it. It has no idea about this distinguishing concepts between the three different spears that each of you used.
And she'll probably find Viper to be surprisingly chatty when it comes to the minutia of martial arts, but not much else.
Very good. She's delighted to talk to you about this stuff. She's
Like,
just
if specifically, I'm thinking of the old Bruce Lee interviews where he would basically say nothing until somebody asked something specific about how to throw a punch, and then he's just off to the races. That's Viper.
So yeah, she is delayed to learn about anything y'all are willing to tell her about. She is just interested in learning.
Right.
Oh, it's a joy to have a captive audience.
Spend the rest of the night teaching this professor how to be like water.
The dean and Dynastistel and the commander are more discussing like the politics of the city and economics, and they're engaged in conversation with Istal, which any of you can hop in on if you're so inclined. But they are discussing weighty matters as far as the four of them are concerned. But yeah, so the dessert passes and drink has gone around. Who's been drinking?
I had a cup of wine at the beginning of the thing, but I think that I have been having a drink that is akin to Turkish coffee, in that it is effectively mud, but like really tasty and really strong.
Okay. So here's the wild. Oh, Viper, were you drinking?
No, I think Viper specifically tries to avoid consuming plant products as much as possible, so no fermented plants for her.
Oh God, is there like some wild ass fermented meat beer?
Oh.
I don't even want to think about it.
Not here, there's not.
Well, there could be mead.
Yeah.
That's honey. Yeah, that'll do
That's
it.
true. That's true. That's honey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honey,
So,
mead, the meatiest of beers. Uh,
I have a very
Maybe
fancy
a
drinking
little,
horn, which
yeah.
I've been hitting.
not much. As established in fiction earlier, she did break at least one goblet. So.
Yes. Oh god, Dorothy is bored out of her mind.
okay. So,
Nerds on your left and politics to your right. What a joy.
Well, it's just, if you've ever been the only sober person at the party, but you can't even, like, awkwardly eat.
Yeah, that'd be the worst.
okay. So, here's the wild thing about Fantasy Craft, is that eating and drinking has mechanical benefits.
Oh boy.
Beyond just, like, are you starving to death? So, the three of you, the first thing you drank was an alcoholic beverage. Which means that, let's see. What's the difference between booze and spirits? Okay. Booze, okay, I see. So yeah, spirits is liquor and booze is like wine and beer. All right. So it sounds...
We have definitely been boozing it up.
Yeah, it sounds like the three of you have been drinking mead, essentially. Which it specifically says mead in the item description. So, booze it is. So if you have the shaken condition, booze reduces that by 1 grade. So,
Fucking radical.
so I think, V, don't you actually have...
I do, in fact, I believe that is true, yes.
Yeah. So remove your grade of shaken that you got from Dorothy bullying you during the show.
God, that's so funny and good. Yep, down to chill.
Yeah. However, since you are not a halfling, which are not a thing in this setting, they were banned. But halflings have an ability whereby they get the benefits of 2 drinks and 2 meals per day.
Wow.
Because if you drink coffee or tea, you get a +1 bonus to reflex saves for 8 hours.
Nice.
Yeah, but you don't get that because you had booze first.
The coffee is just for me.
Yes. However, y'all did, let's see. Was this a hearty meal, a fresh meal, a filling meal, or comfort meal? Let's
I feel
see.
it's a hearty meal.
So the description is hearty food is meals loaded with fats and proteins. Fresh is fruits and vegetables. Filling is loaded with all the trimmings. And comfort is homemade delicacies. I think this is probably filling then, because this is like this was a feast, and like the Istal went all out for this meal. So because of that, because this was filling food, everyone gets +1 bonus to their fortitude saves for the next 8 hours.
Hooray.
Because Fantasy Craft has rules for fucking everything. So yes, I don't know where any of you want to put that, but I'm going to leave that up to the 3 of you to remember if you need to make any fortitude saves.
I forgot it the minute you said it. What did you say?
You get a +1 bonus to fortitude saves for it's normally the next 8 hours, but because we have the dramatic pacing campaign quality, it's the next day. Or like
Plus
basically, yes, +1. Basically for the rest of the day.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, the meal continues, and then I think you all retire to the parlor after the meal for drinks and continuing conversation. So I am going to move all of the NPCs over there to the couches, which
Just playing.
what? Playing doll?
Yeah.
I thought that was what you're up to.
Yep. Let's open the box.
Yeah, so everyone put your characters where they are in the parlor.
Oh, absolutely, just like not just lounging across this couch. 100%.
Undoing your pant buckles. Just.
Yeah, so Viper, you're near the door?
Yeah, just leaning on the corner of the wall there.
You're too cool for the couch?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'll just scroll this out a touch. Yeah. Okay. Oh, and Dorothy, you're back on Ingril's shoulder?
I'm back on whomever picks me up off the table because that might be a fatal drop for me.
Yeah, it's probably. I will do that.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, I think the servants have like gone around and like brought brandy to everyone who wants it. Who has taken up the brandy?
Oh yes.
Madam V is here for this.
Same.
2 heads, 2 drinks.
If I don't have a glass of alcohol in it raised in at least one hand, I'm doing it wrong.
That is
Oh, actors.
that is an interesting question and a slightly unnerving one. Was Madam V eating and drinking from both heads during the conversation, like simultaneously? Was like one of them doing all of the consumption while the other was doing the talking?
I feel like alternating, right? Yeah. I think probably there's a different. I think the two heads have a difference in taste. So one will like sour things much more than the other will.
Yes. So the conversations have continued as everyone has moved to the couch, and Istal has a glass of brandy in one hand and a crowbar in the other, which
right, that's great.
yes, which is like proportioned to a giant. Actually, would it be
Additional celebratory crowbar.
the celebratory? Yeah, yeah. I think it is proportioned to them, because it would have they'd have stuff like that for the servants here, and so they are say, all right, now let's see what old man Salazar has sent us, and there is a like envelope that was brought alongside the crate, and so Istal takes the envelope, and it is saurian sized, which means it is very small in their hand. And so they like open it up with 2 fingers and break the wax seal with Salazar's sigil on it, take it out and pop it open, the piece of paper, and they read aloud, Dear Istal Boulder Ripper. And they sort of like look over the paper at all of you and like give us somewhat drunken smile.
Hey, that's me.
Congratulations on your achievement this fine evening. I hope you enjoy your gift. It was custom made just for you and your delegation. Best regards, Lord Salazar Thesai.
What if it's like a shock person? I don't remember what their name. What if it's
That's
and
what I've been thinking this whole damn time.
and so they take
You're
over.
overthinking it.
They
Okay, but
Everybody will
before you,
notice.
before you open that, I do want to specify that I did clarify I did have my shield with me. And then all you said was, well, why do you need the shield? And then we moved on from there.
okay, sure, you have your shield.
It's made from leather and silver. It's not like, it's very ornamental.
Yes. So they stick the crowbar in.
I'm sure this is gonna be fine. I'm gonna take a long drink of brandy as this happens.
They,
Viper has moved closer and is sitting on the arm of the nearest couch.
very good. They stick the crowbar in the side of the crate, pry it, like work around the outside, take some effort to get it open. Because this crate is like large enough to like it probably has a life-size statue of presumably Boulder Ripper inside of it. Like it is massive, right?
Hashtag goals.
And in fact, I think Istal says that. Istal's like, you think it's a statue of myself in here? And cracks it open and like steps back and just like lets the side of it drop to the like tiled floor. And a look of utter confusion comes over their face. And they just say, Polim? Who, as a reminder, is the missing
Oh yeah.
actor who was supposed to be the filling the role that Viper took over for. And so they say, Pullum? Confusedly?
You should have jumped out at the cake. This is
I think
completely
I'm
wrong
gonna,
setup.
I'm gonna rush over there and be like, "Are you okay?"
As you are heading over there, why did, roll 20, you are being slow. Oh my god. There we go. As you're heading over there, a blast of lightning shoots out
Well,
Well,
and knocks Istal into the dining table, knocking over the chair. And they are laid out.
I have to spit to the out of me.
And with that blast of lightning, the other four sides of the crate fall down. And there's Pullum, your hedonist actor companion, crackling with lightning, his eyes glowing a dangerous purple hue. His clothing, his fineries, torn and damaged.
The worst part.
And being so close, he looks at you, Viper, and there is no look of recognition in his face. And so I would like everyone to roll initiative.
How do you roll initiative for NPC or like an animal companion? The initiative is 1.
Okay. So with that, with NPCs, you need the NPC chart, which I was going to be pulling up for myself anyways. It was just something that we should have thought to have inside of Foxglove's character sheet before now. Okay, so what is Foxglove's initiative grade?
1.
Okay, so that's a +0 bonus.
Oh, okay. And sorry, what page is the NPC?
That is page 229.
Thank you.
Okay. Alright. And it's initiative 3. Okay. Alright. So. Let's see. Pullum is 8. Ingril, what was your initiative?
15.
Ingril has 15. Viper, what was yours?
24.
V.
5.
Dorothy.
13.
Madam V keeps a cat.
And what's Foxglove's?
20.
Oh, 20. Okay. All right. This is gonna be a whole thing. It's been a while since I ran NPCs with Fantasy Craft. And it's the first time I've done it with Roll20. So, but before we get to that, I think now is a good time. Oh wait, actually, that just I just remembered something. I forgot that the Pullum, being a lightning elemental, has lightning reflexes, which means that
Because you couldn't resist the pun.
he gets to roll initiative twice and pick the preferred results,
Pullum prefers the lower
Which-
result.
is no better. Okay, so yes, V is going last, Pullum slightly before, but at any rate, we are going to take a break, and let's see, we will be back shortly.